It is October 15th, 2023, and you are listening to episode 21 of Wes and Shelly Share Outdoor Education and Funnel Cakes. If you hear a dog panting in the background, here. She's going to stop. All right. She started to sniff and she stopped panting. It's Rosie. Shelly, there are some beautiful red leaves beside you.
I know. So here we are at Stevens Creek, our favorite place to, we feel like it's like our backyard. So it's about 5 minutes from our house, and it's our favorite place to take the dogs for a quick nature walk. But anyway, yeah, I've got some sugar maple leaves here, and they're just beautiful. So perfect red leaves. The trees here in Charlotte are beginning to turn. We're at kind of the beginning. Some are moving faster than others, it looks like. So we've got a lot of red leaves, but a few yellow. And anyway, just beautiful.
I've noticed when we move our mouth away from the microphone, it's a big difference. So, sorry.
He's trying to vary.
This is becoming quite a professional show, as you can see.
Yeah. Anyway, so beautiful red leaves. Thank you.
All right. Well, Shelly had quite an adventure this past week with a lot of fifth graders and some colleagues. And so we're going to talk about her experiences on Seabrook Island, which is in South Carolina, and outdoor education a little bit. Have a wonderful halftime, which everyone is really wishing, I think, just went longer, but you have to wait till halftime. And then we're going to talk about funnel cakes because we are starting a side business, and we had some learning this weekend. And so we just thought we'd reflect on that a little bit. So Seabrook Island, what is it? Why is it awesome? You have to push this to the side and then tap end.
Thank you.
Yep. We're doing fancy things on our Apple Watches because Apple Watch is updated, and we went to the Apple store today after church and lunch and went to a class, and we learned some things. So, all right, tell us about Seabrook Island.
Well, this year, so last year at Union County, I spent a lot of time building science lessons for the EOG, end of course exam for my school. So I have never really studied the coastal ecosystems. Growing up in Lubbock, Texas, and the Panhandle, and then Oklahoma, I have not spent a whole lot of time on the coast. So, Seabrook Island, we were at St. Christopher's, which is an Episcopal camp. They have about 300 acres, so it's a camp and a conference center. And they did an absolutely wonderful job. So we took all of our students, fifth grade students. We stayed overnight 2 nights, and we did different activities learning about the coastal ecosystem, specifically the estuaries there. So we're inside the border islands.
Is it Barrier Islands?
Barrier Islands, thank you. Inside the Barrier Islands. So the Barrier Islands are kind of out, and they're really the first line of defense for the coast. And then we were inside the Barrier Islands on Seabrook. So at this camp, they run the students. So it's staffed by college graduates that have some type of degree in in biology or oceanography, or
is there like wildlife studies? Or?
Some of them were environmental, wildlife. So various STEM degrees that related to the coast or the oceans that ran the different activities for the kids. And so I loved learning and seeing for myself what I had been teaching last year. I'm really passionate about doing science. I think students need to learn, but they also need to do science. And so like in our classroom, we've been building eco columns. We have a terrarium and an aquarium that we've joined, and we've been learning about the different survival and the biotic features and the abiotic features and the wildlife. We've added fish and crickets and pill bugs, and we've grown grasses, and we've anyway. So that's been a wonderful project. But it was really awesome to see all of the science in action. I think one of my favorites was the actual hike. We had a 2-mile hike on our last day in the rain because it rained the whole time. But and seeing the brackish water. We talked a lot about the brackish water last year.
What
and
is
the
brackish water?
Brackish water is the mixture of, there was a river, fresh water, where it meets the ocean water. So it just depends on the salinity of the water at that time. It's really the ocean's nursery. It's where shrimp and crab and everything goes, and they grow. It's kind of the incubator. Until they get big enough to go out. So we hiked along the salt marshes, and we saw the estuary. We got to see dolphins that were hunting and getting fish. We got to fish in the ocean and catch crab and shrimp. And one group even caught a sheep's head fish. I mean, it was amazing. And of course, all of that went back into the ocean. But walked through the mud and the muck and got to smell and experience decomposition and that sulfur smell. So it was just, everything was done with intention and with science in mind. And it was really neat to have been studying, spending last year studying science in the ecosystems, and this year and it was just, I can't say enough at how much I enjoyed it. It was fun. It's challenging, you're spending 24 hours a day and you're responsible. We had a lot of great parents join us. So it was about 4 hours from Charlotte. It was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful.
So back up a little bit, because people may not have been with us for the podcast. What do you do, and how did you end up coming to Seabrook Island to this wonderful outdoor education experience?
You mean, what am I doing this year?
Yeah.
So I did end up leaving my school from last year and joined the 5th grade team at Providence Day School. And I am a teaching assistant in the science classroom, and I'm really enjoying it because I get to experience all of these things. I have some background in what we're learning because I spent a lot of time teaching it last year. So we're actually a science and language arts classroom. And at first people are like, what? Science and language arts? But it's been fantastic because our students have just written poetry on their ecosystems. They had to pick one of the systems or one of the animals or critters, and they've written poems about the ecosystem. A lot of kids got really excited because we got to see duckweed growing, and we planted duckweed in our aquariums, introduced it to our aquariums, and we even had a poem about duckweed. We had poems about pill bugs. We had poems about crickets. It's just, so anyway, I really enjoyed the mixture of science and language arts to include writing, and that's been fun too.
So outdoor education is something that both Shelly and I have some history with. And last year was my first year at Providence Day, and I teach in the middle school. I'm a 7th grade advisor. This year our kids are not going on a field trip. Last year we went to Greensboro, and there is a YMCA camp there. And we went really about this time. I think it was in October. And it was absolutely one of the highlights of the year for me. It was a wonderful time to get to know my colleagues better, going to meals, and, the kids were, for us, rotating through stations of archery and canoeing, and there was a low ropes and a high ropes course and a climbing wall and a hike and, just different things. And the staff ran the different stations. We had limited responsibilities, but it was just wonderful. And because of COVID, our students, haven't really done anything like this for about 3 years. And so it was something that, the kids had not had as much experience with, and it just felt really special because, finally we've gotten to the point with COVID, getting that behind us and just sort of normalizing things to be able to do that. So Shelly, what's a little of your background for outdoor education, and what would be your sort of elevator pitch for outdoor ed for teachers or administrators or parents or whoever's listening, thinking about kids and outdoor education? Why are you passionate about it? What is it? And why is it, I would think, vital for children as well as adults?
Well, I don't know. We need to add in there The Last Child in the Woods.
We've mentioned it on
that. Yeah, I think we've mentioned that before. As I thought about it,
that's a book.
That is a book, and I'll just have Wes add it to the notes. I've been living outdoor education. I think my dad, with his love of the outdoors and camping and fishing, started. And then later, when I was in college and the summers after I graduated, being a camp counselor at a campfire camp, Camp Monakewa, for a couple summers and experiencing that. Then again at Bozeman Elementary, where we had a grant and we took all of our kids from Lubbock, Texas to Oklahoma to Camp Goddard, which is a science-based camp, writing a science grant to include training for teachers in both math and science. And we spent a couple weeks in the summers and going to conferences. And so I've always had a passion for, I think I said it earlier, doing science and learning about science, but getting outside of our comfort zone and getting outside into nature. Some of my favorite things are studying the trees and, an interest in birds and trails and ecology and environment. Before it was a thing. Now you mentioned environmental science and global warming, and sometimes you get a negative effect. But I think it's definitely something that, our world depends on that. And you don't know how to take care of something if you don't experience it. And so I think it really develops a sense of place when you take a close look at it and begin to understand it. And even on this trip, it was interesting to see the different children who had not been in nature, had never smelled sulfur or had never been on a hike, didn't even know what kind of shoes were appropriate. And so, squeamish about bugs and things. I mean, I'm not a big fan of snakes. In fact, today, sitting in this picnic table, I'm looking around going, might be a copperhead hiding in here. Actually, one of our teachers did see a copperhead right off of the trail. I mean, it's in the wild, right? It's wildlife. So you always have to be careful, but you begin to get an appreciation from it, but being intentional about getting out and experiencing it. I can remember the first night I slept out at Camp Monakewa, we slept out under the stars. That usually I had never done that before. I mean, we had a tarp, but we took our sleeping bags and we slept on the tarp and not even in a tent. And I mean, I love that. I mean, so I just think being intentional, and we've done that with our children. For me, it started at home with my dad and a love of nature, and it progressed in many different forms, hiking. So I don't know. I think, what about you? You've spent some time outdoors and teaching others.
Yeah, and your dad's camping and fishing. I love that, and that was something that I got to do with him too. And we still have waders. Some of the things we did not leave behind. We got the waders that he gave me, and you've got your waders, and we need to use those. We're here, and we're going to do it. There's fly fishing, absolutely. That's on our bucket list. Well, let's just record that now. That's going to be one of our adventures for next spring and summer. So scouting really laid the foundation for me for outdoor love. I told Shelly this. We're going to do a session actually on memories with grandparents and parents. And boy, I nothing growing up was as exciting as waiting to get up in the morning and go hunting with my dad and go out. That was, I guess some of that was dove hunting and it was pheasant and quail hunting, but it was really spending time and going outside. And I remember Dad, we had this thing I guess it's probably not politically correct now, but it was called Indian Guides. But it was great. It was with the Y, and it was mainly, I think, dads and kids, but boys and girls. But, and I got to do that with Alexander. Cliff Llewellyn was involved in that. I remember going to Abilene, Texas, in a little park outside there. But became a Cub Scout and a Boy Scout, and our scout troop, went camping every month, basically rain or shine. I think my junior year, instead of going to prom, I went on the camp out. I did go to prom my senior year. But like summer camps in the summer, we went to Camp Jayhawk outside Lawrence. With Alexander, I got to go with him to Camp Alexander in Colorado. But then Philmont, backpacking, high adventure, canoe base up in the boundary waters of Minnesota and Canada. Then at the Air Force Academy, I was able to be a ranger at Philmont one summer, and then able to go after graduation and do that again. And man, the importance of learning to be a steward of the environment, learning to care for yourself, learning to be safe, learning to respect nature and to understand it, to learn names for things, but learning how things are interconnected. But learning about our responsibility to care for the planet, something as small as picking up litter and trash and always leaving a campsite cleaner than you found it. The importance of recognizing the impact that we have, even just walking across a meadow or a field. If you've got a group of people, or depending upon, how wet it is or what the conditions are, you can damage plants and you can leave a trail. You can create a trail. And so all of that was really important in Scouts. And then I was fortunate, my grandmother helped pay for it. I got to be a summer exchange student to New Zealand in the summer of 1987 on an outdoor skills program, which was 9 weeks long. And we spent about 6.5 weeks staying with a wonderful family. I lived in Geraldine, New Zealand, which is west of Timaru, where my host dad taught, and my host mom, Shirley, taught in music in Geraldine, and it's near Christchurch. And we had adventures going to Mount Cook National Park and hiking in the Four Peaks region around Geraldine, and they called it tramping, which is backpacking and hiking, very outdoor oriented. And then spent 3.5 weeks in the outdoor skills portion. And we partnered with a boys' school in Christchurch and went to their cabin that they had in the, what was that called? It was in the mountains just, west of Christchurch. In fact, so much of it reminds me of Lord of the Rings. We rock climbed, we went caving, we dug snow. It was winter because it's, our summer is the winter in the Southern Hemisphere. We dug snow caves that we slept in. One of the things when you're on the west coast of New Zealand is really, really wet because the Tasman Sea separates Australia from New Zealand, and all that, those weather systems slam into the Southern Alps, which rise to 12,000 feet. And so you got, over 10,000 feet of vertical that those weather systems hit, and they just dump all that rain. So you got rainforest. And so one of the things I remember about that was, having to just start each day, hey, let's, put on your wet socks, because the first thing you're going to do is basically step into a stream. Because if you're not walking on a trail that somebody has bushwhacked and, cut with a machete or chainsaws and everything and maintained, you're going to be walking up the river valleys. So Moose is giving me a kiss here. Do you want to participate, Moose? All right. So outdoor education, we love it, and hope that is something that we've passed on to our children, because it is, it's so important. And living as we do in cities and towns, and shopping in grocery stores where meat is neatly packaged up in styrofoam and plastic wrap, and, vegetables are just sitting there, and, you don't have as much of a connection many times living in the urban environment to nature and to the farm and to the outdoors, and all those things are excellent. So, let's do, I'll do one more question for outdoor, and then we'll do halftime. What are your goals for outdoor education? What do you want to explore? What has the Seabrook Island experience motivated you to think about and to look into?
Well, number one, I got into a great conversation with the assistant camp director, and I was asking her if they ever did any kind of trainings for teachers. I know there are a lot of schools that cannot afford to take a big trip the way that we have just taken. But I think giving teachers the experience so that they can take that back and explain it, maybe take their own pictures, develop some curriculum. I find that, a lot of teachers end up teaching subjects and learning it as they go. I know that I did when we were talking about the coastal regions. So anyway, she said, wow, it's amazing that you said that because we've just been talking about that. And so I'm really excited to maybe just be on a committee or something that just starts talking about ways and maybe some grant writing to support science teachers in the classroom and provide some training for teachers. Also, I think definitely Wes and I, just like we were saying, we're continuing to plan our outdoor adventures, but encourage kids to get out and be adventurers and have, what is it that we say at the end? Be curious, go outside and have adventures. And so continuing with that as well. So, and I want to continue exploring our coast. We are so close. We traveled about 4 hours. It's on the other side of Charleston, and you can go farther and go out into the barrier islands. And hey, I learned that an island has trees. If it doesn't have trees, it's not an island. It's more of a sandbar. So anyway, and we've talked about Defusky Island, going out. It's still a very primitive island. So anyway, just continuing. I would really love to support teachers. I think I'm at the point now in my career where rather than being the lead, I'd like to take a more supportive role and support teachers as they develop curriculum and get training. And, there's a lot of learning that goes into that. And so if you can help with that learning, just like students, teachers need to get out and experience things as well. Awesome. Well, we're continuing to figure out who it is that we want to be in the empty nest aspirationally. And one of the things that Shelly's been fortunate, and I think it's wonderful to have this chance to discover is what does it feel like to have less lesson planning and direct instruction responsibility, still be able to work with kids and, be able to love on them and build relationships and learn, but maybe not be the lead teacher. So that's going to take us to our topic for halftime, which is going to be funnel cakes. We'll be right back. This episode of Wes and Shelly Shares is brought to you by Cook with Wes. Cook with Wes is my, Wes Fryer's, personal passion project, sharing lots of food photos, a few recipe videos, lots of barbecue and smoked meat adventures, and many other recipes from my indoor and outdoor kitchens. You can find all our family recipes on food.wesfryer.com and follow Cook with Wes on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and Twitter. If you're on Mastodon, and really, why not? Since Twitter has become a bit of a dumpster fire, you can search for the hashtag CookWithWes to find my latest food shares there. Well, I did start a separate YouTube channel for Cook with Wes, but I've continued to post most of my cooking videos on YouTube on my main channel. You can access the complete playlist at wfryer.me/cook. Thanks for tuning in to Wes and Shelly Shares. I hope to see you on social media on one of the channels for Cook with Wes. Thank you for that, Cook with Wes, for always supporting this podcast. So, you may have heard or maybe read on Facebook that Wes and I are starting a funnel cake business. So, we are blessed to have wonderful neighbors next door who for years in their retirement did a funnel cake business. And it was something that they could do together and something that they really enjoyed. And they have all the equipment they've been stored in the garage for years. And so anyway, they were always talking about it. And so we're going to be probably rent to own their equipment and give it a go. I mean, we have a wonderful farmers market in our area that we love going to, and they're going to come and help and support us and just kind of see if we can get the rhythm. So all the equipment's there. We really just need to buy a big tent and then some tables, folding tables, to get this thing started. So that's the plan. we're going to go into the funnel cake business. Wes can tell you a little bit more about the equipment and some of the reconnaissance work that we did. But we're really looking forward to being able to spend our time together, to have some fun. We love the farmers market. We love going each Saturday morning. It's a great little community. It's not big, but for very little overhead. We think that, we've got some college debt to help pay off and make up a little difference with my teaching salary. But it will give us an opportunity to do some things together and to save some money and have some opportunity for some more further adventures.
I have really bonded with our neighbors over barbecue. They not only had a funnel cake business for years, they had a barbecue business and a catering business. In fact, I wish I had been able to record a video. Maybe we still could record a video because it's like Jason's Barbecue. He sold this trailer. He went through either 5 or 7 different barbecue trailers, iterations. He had this master welder who had done this for him. They ended up having a really fancy 10 by 10 trailer as well that they used for the funnel cake business. Anyway, it is just the best relationship. We love them. And like Shelly said, we have college debt to help pay for, and we, need to diversify our income and have a little sideline. And so we're going to give this a shot. The other thing that's really cool is at our school, in my department, we have a whole entrepreneurship division. It's a couple faculty, but they are focused on entrepreneurship. Our department was rebranded the summer before I came as IDEAS, which is innovation, design, entrepreneurship, analytics, and sustainability. And so I'm working on a business plan. Our entrepreneurship faculty are going to, help us kind of brainstorm it. Funnel cake business is a little special as far as, the licensing and in North Carolina. It depends by state as far as what kinds of health inspections and things like that are required. But anyway, we are hoping by the first weekend in November, I guess, that's when we're doing a neighborhood barbecue, and our neighbors are going to kind of help us do that. We may do it like a trial run just in our driveway and give some away. But in addition to this large Camp Chef 3-burner propane stove, he had a custom rectangular, I guess, what do you call it? It's a pan, I guess, but it's a large cooker that sits right on top of this 3-burner stove, and we'll be able to do some smaller cooks. But anyway, it's exciting because I was an independent entrepreneur for almost 5 years as a workshop presenter and keynote speaker, and that sounds all exciting and sexy and everything, but boy, when you're doing that full time and you don't have outside healthcare insurance and your income is variable, the thing that seems really exciting about this is the profit margin can be good. And like Shelly said, we're just going to start small at some farmers market, and maybe there's a big flea market actually that is not far from us as well. We're just going to try to be low key, but then gear up for the spring, and you have to apply to get into these festivals. And we've got not only festivals in North Carolina, we've got some in South Carolina. And we're not one to do this like every weekend. But unlike opening a restaurant or something where you're going to be tied to it and kind of be tethered to it all the time, I mean, this is something that we could theoretically do maybe 1 or 2 weekends a month, bring in some extra income and just kind of see where it goes. But it's exciting. So, Shelly, why don't you tell a little bit just about the setting of St. Luke's? Because we've seen this church. We literally drive by this church building and property, which we found out they've moved. And so it's not the actual location of the church congregation as far as like Sundays and everything. We drive by it every single day because we love to take this, not to take the interstate. There's a big loop called 485 that loops all the way around Charlotte. And it's just, of course, busy. And we have these really, more beautiful roads that we drive through. So anyway, we want to tell a little bit about the setting, and then we'll talk a little bit about what we learned from the assistant scoutmaster who is leading the funnel cake crew there.
Well, like Wes said, this is a satellite campus. I think they've moved and have created a new building, a church. And so they use this for recreation and learning and, just, anyway, it's a beautiful, they have a lovely stream and acreage, and it's a gorgeous property. So when we do drive past it every day, and they have events there. We first noticed it when they were having a big fish fry, so that they do it during Lent. But anyway, so they'd had their signs out there for a week about a fall festival, and we saw funnel cakes. And so we were on our way home on Saturday afternoon, doing some shopping and just being out, and decided to kind of swing in there and see. So we were going to go check out the funnel cakes. And so it was just this very small town church festival. And it was, so we kind of went in and we just kind of went around and just kind of spying, acting like we were there, for a reason. And anyway, so we started looking at the funnel cakes, and I think they were like, "Do you want some funnel cakes?" We're like, "No, we just want to see you making the funnel cakes." Anyway, so we kind of watched, and I mean, it's good to get a picture of this. Like, we have all of this equipment, and we've heard Julian tell us all about it. But I mean, I'm the kind of person that really just needs a picture of it in my mind. And, Wes is always thinking up these entrepreneur things that we could do. And most of the time I'm going, yeah, that sounds great. But this one I'm like, okay, well, maybe. I mean, I could try. I mean, who knows? I can sprinkle some powdered sugar on something. Wes is going to be doing most of the heavy lifting on this one. So I said, well, as long as I can decorate the table, if you'll just let me decorate the table and I'll keep it clean, then we're good. I mean, that's kind of the deal we have here at home anyway. Wes does all of the cooking and I do most of the cleaning. And so I think, anyway, it'll be kind of fun. I mean, it is a little weird, I suppose, especially with us on our health kick, which, by the way, we're still maintaining. I don't plan on eating any funnel cakes, honestly. It's never been a big draw for me. I mean, of course, I would sample it, but who knows? I mean, we'll see.
So I'm excited that this is fine. We've talked about this and around it, but we had a 3-day weekend before last. And so that's when Julie and I got into their basement and garage and all this stuff and got equipment. And, Shelly looked at it and got to hear about it. But coming to see this in action, I think really was a good step. So it is absolutely a team effort. He and Julian and Susie are our neighbors. And when they're doing this, Susie's responsibility, I think, was, mixing up the funnel cake, getting them after they're cooked, getting the powdered sugar on them, taking the money. We're probably going to be cash only, but I don't know. Lots of people have cards now, so we'll see about that. But, it can be an absolute nonstop frenetic thing. Like, when they were in full swing, and they really, I think, did this well. They had a great reputation, super, super clean, top quality. So this weekend at the little St. Luke's Fall Festival, they had the Scout Troop doing the funnel cakes, and they were selling them for like 4 tickets, which was $4 a piece. And they were using pancake mix. And they had 2 Dutch ovens on a 2-burner propane stove. They had a big piece of cardboard that they'd laid down to get the drips and everything, and had the sifter for the powdered sugar and all. One of the things that I had not heard of before, and they said was great, was having a food grade mixer, and it went on the end of an electric drill, but that really, really helped as far as the mixing and stuff like that. Well, we got to talk to Julia and Susie last night about, what we had learned and everything. And when I said, well, they were doing it with pancake mix, I mean, Julian's face was like, are you serious? So evidently there's a really large, the gold medal, I think, is the top quality funnel cake mix. And so he knows the folks that have the sort, being able to get this and source it. It used to be back in the day like $40 a box, and I think that makes 100 funnel cakes. And back in the day, they were selling for $5 a piece. Well, you can work on that math. and of course you have to have the oil and, the powdered sugar and plates, but really there's not that much overhead and you don't get inventory. Everything is mixed and cooked right there, on demand. There's a less expensive mix that, somebody he knows, I think it was somebody maybe who he sold the trailer or one of his businesses. He sold the business twice. But am I needing to go faster?
No.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to find out what kind of mix, but I don't think we'll be doing pancake mix. But it is sort of like just making pancakes. And so I'm excited. I think it's going to be an adventure. We actually had looked into getting into the fall festival at our school, which was this past weekend. But they didn't want to have any propane or any hot oil, and so that wasn't going to be able to work. But anyway, well, we're gonna see, and hopefully this is going to be a good way to be able to have some side income. It'll be something for us to do together, and we will see. We've done different entrepreneurial things through the years, mainly around workshops and camps and, training. And like I said, doing that full time for almost 5 years, that was definitely an adventure. Hoping to do that a little bit smarter, as a business plan and stuff. Okay, honey, you need to come up with a wander link. And maybe it's Seabrook Island. I guess it could be.
There you go, Seabrook Island.
You got to say more about it than that. Okay, we got to wrap up. So this is the Wonder Links and the Wander Links. The Wonder Link I want to share, Shelly has not even seen this yet, and I need to show it to her. I think last week's 60 Minutes had an episode with the grandfather of AI, and that was the one that my dad had told me about, and I've shared that with my kids this last week. But they also had this amazing episode about a company called Icon in Austin, Texas, that is 3D printing houses, which turn out to be cheaper and more durable and resilient than traditionally built houses. They use it to build the frame. But my coding class, we are working in Minecraft and learning to code, to use a robot to farm, but we're going to build a colony on Mars, because that's actually what scientists are talking about trying to do, is use 3D printing robotic technologies to construct on the moon first structures that astronauts are going to be able to live in, and eventually do that on Mars. And so it's really, really cool to see this. And they're thinking that this is going to be a way to address affordable housing. So anyway, if you just want to Google 60 Minutes 3D printing house, you can probably see it. The episode is, I think, about 20 minutes long. And I'll link it in our description. But it's super cool. Shelly, why should Seabrook Island be our wander link this week?
Well, I mean, if you listen to the first part of the show, you know where I've been. But what I really love about Seabrook Island is that, number one, it was beautiful. And number two, it's a place of learning. It's intentional learning. It's educating students and teachers on our North Carolina coast. And well, I guess, yeah, it is South Carolina. The Carolina coast. Let's just say that. The Carolina coast. But I would love to go there as a retreat center. There was a Curcio group, actually, that was there. Unfortunately, they had to share the dining hall with, 100 some odd fifth grade students. But anyway, it was a little crazy, but they were farther away, and a really nice retreat. I didn't actually get to go in it, but it was beautiful. So I think definitely a place I was actually there are all these cabins there. In fact, we may do some just checking in to see if that might be a place where we could do a family reunion. Because I mean, it was wonderful. And it's next to Kiowa, which is, I guess, a pretty hoity-toity, bougie kind of place. So who knows? I think it would definitely be worth checking into.
All right. Well, we're going to do some planning and strategizing for the summer. This last summer, we didn't do any camps or workshops or anything like that, and really want to probably do a space camp and some other things. And I've been, participated over the years in some wonderful teacher professional development, led a whole bunch of iPad media camps and story chaser workshops and things. And so we're kind of anyway, thinking about what we might do, and being able to go to a beautiful place and then being able to learn together. And if you can have good food there, that's even better. I could just see, I mean, there's multiple places here in North Carolina, so maybe we wouldn't just like have one place, but maybe we'd rotate and go different places. We've talked about doing a design, create, and share workshop, and then also just a show with media workshop. I think I'd like to do a show with media, but a story chasers workshop would be great too. So that's it for our show. Thank you so much for listening. We know Rachel is listening, and we think that Philip is listening, and Kristen, and it's great. We're enjoying doing this and the chance to reflect. So if you are listening, we'd love to hear from you. You can go to it was weird. I'm having a little website trouble with my web server, but you should be able to go to www.shellyfryer.com/podcast and find links to be able to connect with us on social media and other things like that. So we try to do this on Sundays. It doesn't always happen. This is our 21st episode, so we started it in January. So we're getting some episodes done, but it is an adventure in the empty nest, and I'm excited about lots of different things, especially the fact that Shelly had such a great week in a new part of the Carolinas and came back excited about learning and the relationship she built and the possibilities for more outdoor education and science learning and doing science. So we're ready to head off. So what do we tell everybody at the end, Shelly? We say, go outside, stay curious, and
have adventures.
That's right. Thanks, everybody.
Wes and Shelly Share is a weekly podcast recorded and published on Sundays by Wesley and Shelly Fryer of Matthews, North Carolina. Learn more and find links to connect on social media to Wes and Shelly by visiting shellyfryer.com/podcast. Content on this podcast is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Only 3.0 license. The Wes and Shelly Share podcast is recorded and published with Anchor and distributed on all major podcast channels, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and more. Please share our show on social media and tell others about us. Let us know on Facebook or via other means what you like about the show, that you're listening, and if you have any suggestions for future episodes. Stay curious, go outside, and keep exploring.